but it's,
Yeah.
if you, depending on your audience, having a few different versions of,
Yeah.
that you customize, that are sort of born out of the company story and slides, but are more customized to your audience, I think that's well worth it. And so you may end up ending up with, 3 or 4 versions of this. One that if you're meeting with realtors, one if you're meeting with restoration companies, one if you're meeting with, corporate partners, whatever it is. And you're just fine tuning them, and you sort of, database them, if you will. I think that's
Yeah,
probably the
that
best
makes a lot
approach.
of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I got you, Brett. All right. Okay, so I'm going to share a screen here. I've only got one slide on the PowerPoint other than the company story itself. So we're gonna have some fun today. All right. All right. All right. So when we look at the company story here, there's kind of 4 phases, or four aspects that I want to cover today. The first is just a simple navigation of it, which is kind of where you guys are at. You've taken the launch, and you're kind of like, you're in between launch and flight, right? Is that right? You guys have had launch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're in that period where, it's still relatively new. Okay. So what Arlen tries to do is get you to this phase right here, where you can navigate your way through the company story, you're getting the message across for each slide, and kind of separating yourself from the competition as much as you can. Very generic way in the beginning. The whole point is, like, the company story, it's one of our value adds, and it can really be a true asset to you, or it could be, a detriment if you're not all in on this thing. When you pull out a PowerPoint in front of a customer in their home, the first thing they're gonna do is roll their eyes. I mean, so you've got to really, personalize, like, the next level, like, is to really personalize that company story, which we're going to talk about a little bit too. But with transitions, you want to tie in things that you learn from the customer into that company story, using their words, because you told me this earlier, you mentioned this earlier, just kind of relate it to them and personalize as much as possible. And you can't do that if you don't listen. And this tone and theme, Grant kind of brought this to my attention. If you didn't know, along with being a financial guru and a professional football player, Grant was also an actor. So he's like a real Renaissance man that we have on board here. So what did you mean by tone and theme, Grant? That was a great introduction, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I'll take it, I guess. I'll take it. Well, listen, the theory behind the tone and theme is as you get more comfortable with doing the company story, and as you get more familiar with the status of the slides and the natural order of the slides, what you need to be able to do is establish a conversational tone and establish a personal theme with your customer, your potential customer, that the last thing that they realize they're doing is they're not receiving a book report, or they're not getting a PowerPoint presentation. That you truly are engaging with them in a conversation, in a tone that's natural to you, right? Everybody has their own natural demeanor. Everybody has their own natural sort of, temperature of who they are innately. And also the theme of things that you have learned, things that you have picked up in the setup call, things that you've picked up in the warm-up, things that you've picked up as you've walked around the house and sort of done the inspection, and now you've gathered some intel. You want to establish a conversational tone that's natural to your demeanor, that's true and authentic to you, and you want to establish a theme of interjecting all those little sort of nuggets of information that you've picked up from all those previous scenario touch points with the customer, and weave them and integrate them throughout the customer story. Because now you're generally having a conversation with them. You're informing them of the value that you're going to bring across all of the metrics that the customer story highlights and hits on, but you're just providing them information based on what they've already shared with you, and you're making it personal to them. So it is the most impactful and effective when they sit back and feel like that you've just told them something about almost about themselves while weaving it through the story in a conversational tone that doesn't sound robotic, and it's naturally organic, where in your mind you're not trying to think of what's the next slide. The next slide is manufacturer direct, or the next slide is the 5-star slide. That just comes natural. You're just talking and weaving through it. So as you practice your company story, as you actually execute your company story, be mindful of that as you're going into it. Certainly be aware of it as you're doing it, but also take a moment after the appointment, when you're reflecting on how the whole appointment went, take notes and just really go back and think about how you performed in that company story that time. What things you felt like you did really well and where you felt the most comfortable, and what things where you felt like maybe you got caught up, you had a tough transition in and out of a slide, and maybe where you felt like you were getting preachy versus conversational. The more you actually reflect on that and study it, the quicker you're going to get where all of a sudden it's really becoming your own.
All right, thanks, Grant. All right. So one of the biggest ways we can really personalize thing, is with this slide 1 here. All right. And those of you that I've practiced with and, in previous sessions, this is a big one. Either you're going to bring your customer in with this and engage them, or you're going to lose them. They're going to see the slide and tune you out, in a sense. So what are some of the slide 1s? I'm going to ask the room for some examples of what you say on slide 1. Anybody want to volunteer? Or I can pick on people too if you want, but I'm going to pick on you, Jamie.
Joe, I'll go.
You. Go. Who volunteered? Yeah. Brett, is that you?
Janie did.
I can go if you want me to.
Yeah.
Joe knows what to expect from me. It doesn't matter.
You're a safe bet, Jenny. It's a compliment. All right.
Okay. So on slide 1, I normally just start out with something like, I've learned a little bit about you and your home and your family, and I want you to understand why I've chosen to have this career, to come into people's homes and to help them find new floors. I started out the last 15 years doing one of the hardest jobs of being a stay-at-home mom and managing all the logistics and all the different things, but also seeing how my family loves and cherishes our floors and our home, and seeing the difference it can make in somebody's home. Then I slide through to the next thing.
And that's my promise to you, right? And
Yeah, right.
And you segue right in. Man, I got goosebumps, Janie. That's good stuff.
Yay. Awesome. Right. Thank you.
All right.
No, that's really good. That's really, really authentic, honestly.
Let's hear what not to do. Brett, you want to go next? Just kidding, man.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I just like authentically just say like what I love about my job is that I get to talk with different people every day. I'm a people person, local in the community, and I get to solve problems. 25 years in corporate America solving problems, and now I get to bring that to a local level. And the benefit for you is that's my promise, is you're going to have the best flooring experience as a result of that.
That's beautiful.
Brett, that was really good.
I like how it's really all about like how your passions and experiences are going to benefit that customer. And both of you all nailed that part of it. That's the most important part of this one. A little bit about yourself to humanize yourself, but almost more importantly on what's in it for the customer on the other end of that. So, and both of you did a great job sending that message. So that's good stuff there.
Yeah, I really.
Go ahead.
I really like it, and I use, because I'm use the same pitch really. Honestly, is I'm very upfront and transparent that flooring was not my background, right? And I give a little bit about my background, and then I go right into why I chose Floor Coverings International, and then I go into how my background can help ensure that they have the best flooring experience.
Yeah. I'm hesitant to give you any feedback on, because you're killing it, and I don't think you should change a thing, man. So, but one thing about flooring, I kind of like the angle of flooring not being your background. You can kind of parlay it to say, I'm not here to sell you floors. I'm here to sell you, the vision or the, whatever it is that customer's looking for. Because like at the end of the day, we don't sell floors, right? We're solving problems, we're doing all this
Yeah,
other stuff, but
well,
it's really
yeah,
not about the
I like
floors.
the other point I make is that, yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing I can say, and it's true. You know, I'm not a salesman. You know, I don't come from a sales
Yeah,
background, but
yeah, use
I
that to
do
your
come from a
advantage.
problem solving background.
Yeah,
And I enjoy it, you know. Yeah.
yeah. In fact, we had a DA call the other day, and someone said that. One of the DA says, you know, I don't sell floors. Remember that, Grant, on that call? Yeah, I mean, it's so
Yeah.
true, too.
They said, I don't sell floor, I provide experiences.
Yeah,
So, you know, and that was their way of kind of creating a
Like that.
differentiation.
Like that.
I think another good thing you can add there too is the fact that picking out a floor is not that hard. People can go to Floor and Decor and they can find a floor they like, and you know, that's not that tricky. The hard part is getting it installed perfectly in their home. And saying, you know, that's the whole experience we're providing is, yes, I'm going to help you choose a floor, but ultimately we're going to get it installed so well in your home, and not everybody else can do that.
yeah. And I actually, I mentioned that here in my company story. You know, I'll say, you know, this is where the artistry hits. This is what you're paying for right here. You know, you kind of get into it and then show them the video and all that, but like, this is what a real value add, because, you know, we're not picking up installers in front of 7-Eleven at 6 a.m, like to go to your house. Okay. Our installers are better, you know, really brag on this part. That's part of the adding value. You know, that's a great point, Jamie. All right. So we talked about the personalization here. Now, you know, this is kind of like, you know, the ante to the poker game here. And, you know, it's all in an effort to do this. You know, you're doing these two things to set up this price conditioning, because our company story is one big price conditioning tool, you know? And so before we get into that, I want to show you a video here. And Grant, I need you to tee up this video while I'm struggling with Zoom to get it up on a screen, okay?
Fair enough. So this video was born out of a conversation that Joe and I were having with a group of owners a week ago. Adam, you heard this story a few hours ago, so bear with me. But we were, you know, doing some coaching, and one of the owners came on, and we were going back 5 weeks ago, and he was just in a really bad place. He was very negative. He was frustrated. He was challenged. He just had a really defeated spirit about him at that point. This is a guy who's just an incredible guy. He and his wife own the franchise. They're so passionate about what they were doing, but they were just experiencing some real challenges. And Joe and I really dug in and just, told them, look, you've got to dig out of this. You may think that you're fronting this when you walk into home, but you're not. You're carrying this aura with you. You've got this energy about you that is preventing you from flourishing and succeeding. And we really challenged him to dig in deep and get back to what was authentic about him and how he could make his passion for this personal with the customer. And to his credit, he did it. He came up with this kind of unique and cheeky solution where he could interject something that was truly authentic to him as part of his company's story. And the results have been honestly transformational. His close rate has gone up, exponentially. He's still got so much confidence right now. So we're going to share this with you. We literally asked him to tell us what he was doing. We hit record. We handed this off afterwards to our IT department, who decided to turn it into a illustrative cartoon sort of for effect. But pay close attention to this, because this is literally from last week, and this is coming right from the front lines. This is about as honest as it can get when you're talking about customizing your personalizing your customer story.
All right, here we go. All right, Gabe, tell us a cheeseburger story.
So I price condition from the minute I walk in the door until I leave. I'm always doing that, right? So, but when I get to the screen on the story with the hemispheres and meridian and boardwalk screen, this is where I literally say, let me just, I really want you guys to understand this. Let's say you go out for a cheeseburger, and you can go to McDonald's or you can go to a steakhouse. I said, but you go to McDonald's, you order that cheeseburger, they throw it out the window, you drive down the road, they don't give a shit if you like that cheeseburger or not. I said, but here's the way I want to give you a cheeseburger. I am Applebee's and up. I said, I want you to come into my place. I want to seat you in a seat that you like. I want to give you a minute with the menu. I want you to really know what you want to order. Then I want to have a chef that I hired make that cheeseburger for you and bring it to you. And then I'm going to come back in 5 minutes and make sure you're happy. And then when you're all done and dessert and all that, I'm going to take the check up to the cash register, run the card, bring it back to your seat, and then say goodbye to you and thank you for coming into my establishment. That's what it means to work with Floor Coverings International. That's what it means to work with Jennifer and I. That's the kind of experience that when I told you on that second slide, when we started this conversation, that we promised the best experience in home renovations, that's what that means. And so, you know, will I be the cheapest price? By no means, because there's products that I won't even show to you because I know in 2 years you'll be unhappy with it.
So analogies are powerful, you know, and some of you have seen this already, but, you know, he's using an analogy that's near and dear to his heart. You know, he obviously likes cheeseburgers, you know, so, you know, anytime you see, I mean, it's hard to tell because of the cartoon footage, but like, he was so passionate when he delivered that, like, to the group. Like, he was not faking that. I mean, and that's what he does on his appointments. That's his secret weapon, so to speak, you know? He goes in there and just, yeah, go ahead.
So since Ron sent us this video earlier this week, I've used it a couple times. And I was just in a customer's home for an install only. He's done most of the demo. Like, he really cares about how it looks. And I asked them a question. I said, do you guys eat hamburgers? And they said, yeah. I said, do you ever get hamburgers from McDonald's? He said, no. I said, why not? He said, because they taste like something.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, that's the perfect segue into this analogy, and then talked about it. And like, it resonated with this guy because he already knows he hates McDonald's and it tastes like garbage and looks like garbage, you know? So it's a super good analogy. Super, super good.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to defend McDonald's, but I like me a Big Mac, but you know, I'll still use the analogy though, right?
I like Big Macs too, but yeah, same analogy.
All right, so that's what we're talking about, you know, like with personalizing and then using that to the price condition. I mean, that little clip is the epitome of what we're trying to do. You know, it's a quintessential example. I mean, so let me get back to my slide here real quick. All right, so we're trying to price conditions like throughout the entire company story, right? Now, so what are some of the slides some of you use like to really bring it home, you know, as far as price conditioning goes? What are some of the ways that you all are doing that on your appointments now? I know we got a couple DAs on here. I'm going to pick on Cody, our man Cody, who's first month on the job already landed 60 grand plus.
All right, Joe, I got you. So I will say one of the slides that I use is the versus. So like, you know, us versus our competition. I really just try to hit home that like I'm really transparent. The final price is the final price. Like if there's something that I miss, that comes back onto me. You know, a lot of times our competition, if they miss something, they just try to hit you with an extra fee or an add-on. Like, oh, we didn't realize this. So I just tell people, hey, like the final price is the final price. You know, I try to be transparent, and I feel like people appreciate the honesty, the truth. Like if it's something that comes back on me. So, and I feel like they appreciate like that honesty.
That's awesome, Cody. Let me just throw one little thing out, a little tidbit here on that same train of thought there. Now brag about your process on why you're confident your price is there. I mean, I like to say, you know, I've come in here, you know, like we've talked about your vision. You know, I've inspected the space. I've looked at subfloors. I've done the work, Cody. I mean, I'm sure that I'm very confident that the price I give you is going to be the final price because I put in the work and I know exactly what's involved with a project like this. You know, my competitors will come in and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
And that's the way I like to build a little bit extra value on that thing. You know what I'm saying? The special sauce on the Big Mac, if you will. Okay. You know what I'm talking about? All right.
I know what you're talking about.
Awesome. All right. How about somebody else?
Joe, if you go to slide 10, so, and I don't, full transparency, I don't consistently use the installation process video, but it talks about keeping your promise. So it parlays back into the initial part of our promise on the experience. And I'll use the example here is that's what makes us different, is we're going to make sure the job is done right. To do it right, it might cost a little bit more money. If you want it done cheaply, you know, I can, just like anybody else, go hire somebody that's installing carpet out of the back of their truck and give you that, but I'm not going to do that because it's not going to be done the right way. This way I can guarantee it's done the right way, and that might cost a little bit more money, but still keeping your budget in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I love using this slide to build value, Brett. It's one of my favorite ones as well.
Yeah.
All right, what about this one here? And Gabe and the cartoon thing, he kind of made reference here on how he uses it, but how does this one add value?
Honestly,
Here.
this is one I struggle with.
Ah.
Every time I get to this one, I'm always kind of like, I struggle with this one, so I don't have.
Okay.
Yeah, I do as well. This one feels a little out of place for me. In fact, I still surprise myself when I see it, and then I'm like, you know, it's really awkward, and where it falls in the flow, I struggle with.
All right, so what's the benefit of being manufacturer direct? How does that benefit the customer?
It's a
We honor the
pricing.
warranty.
That's a warranty pricing.
Okay, so pricing is one.
Well, we're selling you, we're offering you the products that you want, not just what we got a special, right?
Who is that?
And we can do
Are you
that by
Brett?
working with, we
Yes.
can do that. Yep.
Yeah,
And we can
exactly.
draw from a list of everything all these manufacturers make instead of the shit that's on the shelf at Home Depot. You know, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, so that's the all that stuff. I mean, you know, I like to say here, you know, I start here. Like you told me, getting other quotes. You know, you basically got a couple choices out there. You know, one of the ways we're different is we're manufacturer direct. You know, I'm not storing some product in a warehouse, you know, trying to unload it. You know, I'm going to order something that's going to be custom for your environment, for your home. You know, and I'm going to order that directly from the manufacturer. So I'm not really tied. You know, I want to find you the right solution. I'm not tied to selling certain products. You know, another way that we're different with our pricing, but like, so this is a value add, and pricing too. I think Cody said pricing. Yeah, there's no middleman here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Joe, I use this slide sometimes to connect back to the fact that we're a locally owned franchise, but we have like a larger corporate headquarters. And just kind of reiterate the fact that, like, if we were just a local small franchise on our own, that we probably wouldn't be able to get some of the pricing on some of these materials, some of these floors that we get. But because we have that larger corporate structure, that it helps us stay competitive with the box stores as far as like pricing on products and stuff.
Awesome. So
when I get to this slide, I like to let my customers know that, like, we're not buying product in mass and storing it. So we're not buying a Hot Buys old 3-year-old product that we're trying to push out the door at extreme margins so that we're making great product. It's one of those things. It's like we're buying it direct from the manufacturer. It's today's products. It's not 3-4 years old. If something happens, it's not going to be, I can't get you another, 30 square yards to do your other room here in a week. It's today's products.
yeah,
I like that.
We're getting it
yeah,
direct.
I love that. I love that.
Because I know from in my past and working with restoration companies, a lot of these other foreign companies, mom and pop stores, they'll have pallets of LVP of certain colors, and that's the only thing they're going to try and push and sell. They'll sell you other stuff, but that's the thing that they're going to push and sell because they bought it at 38 cents a square foot because they bought 200,000 square feet of it. But they're
Right.
going to sell it at $4 a square foot. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to push towards.
And
my
Spencer,
customers.
to your point. Yeah, and Spencer, to your point there, you can use like real life examples. So I had like 5 customers buy the same Cali LVP in the same color. And so it made sense for me to get the pallet pricing and order pallets, knowing I have to sell a couple more jobs. So I'll use that to say, like, I have product, and don't tell them what it is. I have a product in my warehouse, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're going to let you pick out your floor first.
Yeah,
And if it happens to be that one, then great. But you can kind of flip that, because then you're leveraging your pricing and giving them a real life example of like you could do that, but you're not steering them towards something. That makes sense.
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense. Brett, you're making a lot of sense today. All right. I'm just saying. All right.
He must be selling a lot or
I
something.
don't have
like-
a point. I don't have appointments today, so that's why.
Well, it's almost like Brett has sold $120,000 worth of stuff or something. He maybe knows something.
Yeah, maybe, just maybe.
How about that?
So you kind of touched on something earlier, Cody, on this part of it, you know. So how does this slide add value along your train of thought here, Cody? You know, like with being like the big corporation side of things.
I just, there again with this slide, I usually just, well, because if I'm being honest, most people are really not familiar with any of the names on this. If I'm being totally, I go, hey, have you heard of any of these brands? And they go, no. I go, okay. So I really just tell them like, hey, the main goal, like First Service Brands owns Floor Covering Internationals. These are sister companies. And the main thing is they preach from like a top down perspective that like, we want to treat customers with the golden rule. That's how we want to be treated. So, you know, with any of these companies, that's what you're getting. Like, even though we are a larger company, like we still try to make it personal on a personal level, treat customers with respect.
Right. And like, you can kind of use that, you know, like plant the seed for what you do later. Like, you know, we have the big company benefits, but we're local, you know what I'm saying? You know, so plant the seed here and then bring it in, you know.
Right. Full circle.
Yeah.
Circle.
Yeah. All right.
I agree with that, Joe. But one thing that, because I bring that up all the time, that, you know, we have the buying power of the 200 plus franchises, but then you're almost reverse price conditioning, right? So you have to be, you know, I think it does help us to be competitive, but still, you know, the bottom line is we're not selling what a lot of others are selling.
Well, and I think another thing that goes along with that, I was just working with a realtor, and so they're trying to get something inexpensive in there. And I brought in my least expensive products and showed him, and he was like, oh, these are pretty nice. Like this is your least expensive stuff? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, wow. I said, even with our least expensive stuff, we're not selling garbage, right? So maybe we could add something there too, saying we sell good products and get good pricing on these good, high quality products. I don't know.
Yeah, and kind of leverage our, you know, our big company aspect, you know, for that, you know, say we're a locally based company, local owned, but, you know, we have the buying power of a big company, and, you know, and it's kind of leave it there, Dan. Like, you don't have to dwell on it, but, you know, it's a benefit for the customer because they're going to get better value and better pricing. You know?
Right. No, I agree. It's just, you just need to understand what you're saying when you say it. That's,
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
All right. So along the same lines here, I want to talk about this slide for a second here. How do we build value here?
I mean, have you ever walked into a flooring showroom?
Yeah, I mean, you know, with the pricing, you know, how we earn our stars and all that, I want to throw a curveball at you guys here. All right, so we had a DA call the other day, and the DA on the call, like her mom owns the cleaning company. Her fiance is a handyman, and you know, so as a result, in terms of making this easy, you know, if they need something outside our scope, you know, like maybe like she's offering a full, you know, deep clean now, you know, like, and using her mom's company on her quotes, you know, say, you know, like if you're doing a sand and refinish, for example, you know, customers care about dust. They're going to ask you about dust. Am I wrong about that? I mean, it's one of the main things they bring up every time. You know, so you could offer up, you know, extra services that are maybe outside your scope. You know, I'm going to bring in a cleaning company and they're going to wipe this thing down from top to bottom, you know, after we're done, you know, and that's in your option one, you know, so making it easy, you know, is moving the toilet, you know, moving the pool table, you know, taking on the responsibility for all that for the customer. So you truly are the project manager. You know, there's something else to think about there. So like in your BNI groups, like you've got all kinds of, you've got painters, you've got this, I mean, you can leverage all those relationships, you know, and why not profit from it? You know, hey, Grant, what was her exact comment at the end there? Like, what was her takeaway?
He did, you know, she was just kind of had an aha moment about the fact that she had these sphere of influence people. She had people that she could parlay into bigger jobs or layer into opportunities currently that not only were going to add value, but, you know, in a true business sense, she could actually create some profit around in terms of integrating them into options. So she's like, so you mean I can, I mean, she made a joke, but she's like, you mean I can profit off my mom and my fiance? I love it, right? I mean, you know, it was a little tongue in cheek, but it was a realization moment for her because she didn't realize it just, you know, in her palm of her hand, she had some really key elements that she could integrate and create more value and really infuse into, let's call it option one of a proposal that might include cleaning or, you know, some additional spec or whatever that she had the resources to solve and build that in. Now you may, you know, back that out for option, but that's, you know, that's where she went with it.
So this is very interesting. So can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah.
Because I've got a couple deals and one that's about to sell actually, where you know, I bundled in some other services, but I'm not running
You're breaking up on
Freezing
us
up
just a
on us,
little bit.
Owen.
I'm not
Yeah.
running the revenue through. Well, I guess my question is, are we allowed to act as general contractors and run non-flooring related revenue streams through our books?
What kind of projects are you talking about? Like, are you talking about, is it related to flooring, like subfloor repair or a replacement or something like that? Or is it like, you're gonna put a new chimney?
Yeah,
on?
Well, yeah.
well,
So the deal, you know, I'll give you.
I got this brought up
here-
yesterday and I want to feed off Owen. I think this is what you're talking about, Owen, is I have one of my installers, they also do countertops. And with Doll-Tile has a countertop division. So in a lot of homes I go in and do kitchens, they also are looking at doing countertops. So
Yeah.
I think this is what Owen's saying is like, is he able to add on like, say, counters or painting and stuff like that onto his revenue stream?
I might have to turn the recorder off for this, but no, just kidding. Like, on the emerging side, they're doing all that stuff, you know. The more you could take on, the better off you are. Now at your stage, I don't know if you want, you know, guys are just starting, so it's kind of a dangerous move, you know, if you start getting into this stuff and you're not prepared for it, you don't have the infrastructure for it. So for that reason, I'd be hesitant to say, like, go for it. But if you have, you know, the infrastructure, you know, and a way to get it done, you know, I would, because, you know, I would try to bring it in, mark it up, and manage the whole thing, you know?
Well, I mean, what I did on this one, to be transparent, is my wife works for me, but she also owns her own home organization business. So she signed a contract on the front end to help, you know, declutter the space before the project. And then my installer signed a separate contract for drywall, ceiling, electric work, etc. And then I had him help me out on my cost side on the deal rather than
Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't sure what to do. So
Well, I mean, as long as you provide this solution, like if you're bringing in the countertop guy, for example, Spencer, you know, here's my countertop guy, you know, you're still solving the problem for the customer if you don't want to take on the responsibility at this stage. You know, you're still one-stop shopping for the customer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Joe, I think I think the question, just to get to the heart of it, Owen, keep me honest here, is if we do that type of stuff that's not flooring related and we run it through our LLC, right, or whatever S corp we have, are we paying a royalty on that? I think the answer is LCI is going to be flexible, like it's not flooring related, like provide a single solution for the customer. But so like I'm replacing a cabinet, a countertop, right, for a customer, but I haven't billed them for it yet because I'm not sure how, right?
I mean,
because
you
I'm
ran it
worried about,
through-
do I need to mark that up to cover 8%, right?
yes. Yeah. I mean, just to be safe, I would, but you could talk to Alan and try to, you know, negotiate something there, but I don't know how much luck you'll have doing it.
Yeah,
No,
the royalties are consideration and also the risk, right? I mean, I don't know what FCI's appetite is for, certain types of, home improvement work either, right? So I think there's a couple different things there that concern me.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be careful with it, but if you ran it through, I mean, just, it's gonna default like to royalties. I'll let you talk to Alan.
Yeah.
Oh, in front of that.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't mean for this conversation to go that way. Okay, Brent? I mean, I was just saying, making it easy.
Hey, you know me, I'm pretty direct, Joe. So,
I mean, the reality is you get out there, right? And it comes up all the time.
It does. It does. And like the bigger your network is, for now, I'd recommend just bringing people in. Hey, I'll bring my countertop guy over, and head out there with them. If it's something simple, I bring it into your proposal. But if you're solving problems for the customer, that's all that matters. It's semantics to them. How they're getting invoiced at that point. It's they've only got to talk to you because all these people that can help them.
Exactly. That's what I say to them. I'm like, it's 3 contracts, but we're don't worry, we're gonna operate as a lockstep team.
Yeah. Yeah. And like your competition's not doing that. The Empire won't even move a toilet for crying out loud. So that's one of the ways we can build value, is on this slide right here, and depending on your situation with the customer, maybe like you're talking to a customer who's doing a full remodel, and flooring is just part of it. You can make mention of that. You can relate it and personalize it right here to the customer on this slide. I know you got some other projects going on. I could definitely help you with that.
Different fucking thing.
All right, so this one's kind of obvious here on building value. I mean, what do you guys say here? This is a good way to price condition as well. Anybody have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah,
I used
pretty
the slide before
self-explanatory.
to segue into it.
What was that, Greg?
I used the slide before to segue right into this.
Okay, unfortunately, that's not the case. And then you go into this.
I say we're, the highest rated flooring company in North America, 4.8 out of 5 stars across social media, which is pretty good because in this industry, or this is the most complained about industry, according to BBB, we've got,
Like you mentioned price here, like you
Yes.
focus in on that.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. All right, so I want to share something with you too on building value, which is kind of unrelated to the company story, but let me stop share real quick. One of the things that we're working, who's using I'm going to bring up reference list, even though we're in the middle of a company story, we're going to take a little detour here. Who uses a reference list?
I have
Yeah,
one
one.
reference.
How many
I
reviews
just
do you
have
have?
people read, I have people read reviews. That's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've all got reviews by now, right?
If they get through the Google matrix.
All right, so Grant has kind of taken on a special project after talking to a lot of the owners, some of the things that people are using out there. You mind taking a minute and sharing where you're at with this thing, Grant?
Yeah, so for a few of you that have been on for the DA calls recently, this is going to be redundant, so bear with me. But for those of you that haven't seen this, I think it's worth a few minutes to kind of introduce. So the power of the review is one of the most underutilized and probably undervalued thing that you have to utilize as a differentiator. And of course, they're online. You can try to drive people to go view them online. My guess is that you're going to get a fair amount of appointments or certainly leads from people who went and did their research and saw your positive reviews. Okay, that's always going to be the case. What we're trying to do is bring those reviews to life and actually make them more emotional and more connected with your customer, kind of in the moment. So This is not to replace the reference list. Okay, as you guys all learned in the company or in the training, you know, the idea of having them call references, even giving them a credit if they reach them. We clearly understand where that gets applied. This is not to replace that, but this is sort of also to augment it. Okay, so what I've done here is we've built a review binder. Okay, and the idea behind this is old school. All right, this is an old school 3-ring binder. But the idea here is to bring your reviews to life. And this is something that you can literally hand to the customer to dilute a little bit of that quiet time. So after you've done the inspection and you're getting ready to go and do your measuring, and then you're going to go out to the van and they have that quiet time, you're going to leave this with them. Okay. And what you're doing is you're customizing and building this for your particular market, your team and your branch. In front of this is just a color off the slide. Again, just, you know, where the stars of flooring. So customize this, use something that's relevant to you. I picked one other slide here. This is the 400,000 customers that we've served. You know, pick anything that you like to kind of set the stage. Okay. The next slide is huge. This is your team. These are pictures of everybody involved, your owner, BA, the office manager, your production coordinator, your installers. Highlight your installers. You know, it's one of our huge differentiators. Put your names, your positions, bring your team to life. These are the people that are going to touch the customer that you're working with. Okay. Make an emotional connection. Remember, they're sitting there looking at this quietly while you're off doing something. This is bringing this, you know, your whole team to a reality for them. The next one is just your customer branch. So we know about the 4.8 out of 5 stars. This is your particular branch. So you would put your branch name and then highlight you guys. If you're 4.9 or 5 out of 5 in your local, in your market, highlight the heck out of that right here. Okay. Then you just have a transition slide that says, we're very proud of our reviews. Please take a look at a few of them. And what you've done now is you've taken the review offline and printed it. And it's now sitting here. And underneath this, you're going to customize this by putting the neighborhood, the zip code, the subdivision. You want to make this as tangible to that potential customer as possible, because you may have done a job 2 months ago in that subdivision and got a great review. You want to make sure that review is in your binder. You may have a tile job that you're sitting there getting ready to bid on, and you did a tile job 3 months ago that you got a great review on. You want to put that in here. The idea here is to have 5 or 6 of these, and on the back of your review, you're going to put your before and after pictures. Okay, so you want them to see with their own eyes what you can do for them. These are going to be fresh and updated all the time. So I've got 5 or 6 of them in here, right? Just one after another. But the idea here is to be moving these in and out of this binder, whether you do it week to week, month to month, or even between appointments. Like you can have a half dozen of these that you're just interchanging depending on who you're going to be going meeting with and where you're meeting them. So that's what the power of this is it can be completely relevant and fresh and updated all the time. And then at the very end, you're just going to, you know, have a little, you know, bio slide here in terms of, you know, who you are, put your name, your address, all that kind of stuff. And the main thing on the reviews, if you have a good relationship with someone that gives you a review and you ask their permission, have them put their name and phone number, they can become a reference. So now, you know, you could even say, oh, did you like that? Well, you know, if you'd like to call them, they'd be happy to talk to you. I mean, this is just something to bring you the strength and power of your reviews, put it in the customer's hands, fill a little bit of that quiet time, and it's something you can customize and use and deploy as an additional tool.
Yeah. Most of you are relatively new in this process, but you have neighbors, steal their reviews, you know, in the local market at least, you know. Well, don't steal them, I guess ask permission, you know, but you know, so Jenny, I saw you nod your head. Are you doing something similar to this?
So I have a print off of reviews, mostly Brad Brown's, but now some of ours. Now we've got 3 reviews so that I show people, and I have just a little printed copy, and I leave it with people when I head out to the van, and I tell them I'll give you $100 off if you read some reviews and tell me something you learned. And I tell them it's the easiest $100 you'll ever make.
Yeah, awesome.
And then they read the reviews and they find something in there that appeals to them. Like, you know, one woman said, oh, somebody said like that this was a great company to work with, even when she was kind of neurotic and wanted to ask lots of questions and needed lots of texts. She's like, that's just like me. You know, people see something that resonates with them.
Absolutely.
Grant, do you have an electronic copy of that you could forward?
Do, Greg. Yeah. So what I'll be doing, guys, is after this call, I'm going to send this to everyone. So keep your eyes out for an email from me. It'll have this PowerPoint attached, and you guys can use this as a template and kind of build your own, but at least it'll give you a guide and you guys can have something to work off of.
I tell you what, old people love it, dude. Good night.
Well, hold on. Hey, Cody, just be careful when you say old people, all right? mean-
Over 65. They love it, dude. They love to be able to see it. Most of them have their readers on anyways, and they don't want to look at their phone. So then when I hand them like a
Yep.
book and it's got big text and big pictures, that's something I usually touch on too, Grant, is like, like you can send somebody a link to your reviews and they have like little tiny pictures on it. And most people aren't even technically savvy enough to open up the pictures. So when you have it printed out and it's already blown up and they can see the before and after, they really, I feel like it resonates well with them. They just like, they like flipping pages. Hey, I don't blame them. I do too. I'm old school, man. I like it.
Think
Stop
about what you're
asking
really
my
doing. I mean, understand what you're
65
really
plus.
doing. You're showing them that they have an opportunity to be the next review in your book. I mean, without saying it, that's what you're showing them. You're saying these were all people just like you that are now the best testimonies I could ask for. And I can't wait to make you one of these people and be showing off your beautiful home as a before and after to a future customer that I may have. I mean, intrinsically, that's the opportunity you're providing to them in the journey of the experience that you're providing.
It's like taking what you'd hope they'd get from calling the reference list and just putting it right in front of their face, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because here's what happens. Okay, so you guys start out, you go to I don't even know what it's called anymore, like pre-launch, whatever, or launch, and then you start running appointments. You leave out the reference list because you don't have any yet. You're just starting. How could you have them? So you guys get used to not using it, and then it's not part of the process anymore. Then you hire a DA, and we have DAs on the call. And we're not giving them every advantage that's out there. Like one of our advantages is our reviews. I mean, when you look at us compared to the competition, it's not even close. So it's one of our biggest strengths that we fail to leverage as a network. And this is a way like to bring it back. Now think about when you do scale your business and you have a DA, the benefit that's going to give them. That's good. You want your DA to have every advantage out there, every competitive advantage that's possible. And you've got to be thinking that way now, because if it's hard, and it's hard to think that way now when you're a few months in. Can't imagine that, but you didn't start this thing to be a owner operator, right? I mean, you're building a business here, and these processes got to be locked in. So when you scale, it'll scale with you.
And
I just
keep
wanted
in
to-
mind, this is it's a
Joe, I use-
conversation starter too, right? You're gonna come back in, they will have been looking at your reviews, just like Janie say, you say, hey, did you see anything that really, resonated with you or anything? And they say something, and now you're engaged in a conversation, and where do you go right from there? You go right into the inspection video in the customer store, right? Because this is when you've come back into the house. So you have a tool here that not only represents you extraordinarily well, because it's all about positivity and the things that you've done for others, but it's a perfect transition tool as you come back in the house and you've got the samples ready and you've done your video. Now you're getting ready to sit down and do your story. It's just a nice, easy transition tool because you get them engaged in conversation and now you just go right into your story, right?
Yeah, it definitely works. I mean,
Joe, for the
I had a
ahead.
a deal. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're okay.
I
Alan,
think
go
we
ahead,
have
man.
connection delay. So
Well,
go ahead, Alan.
yeah, I was just gonna say getting that personal conversation is so key. I've just seen it work for me just in a short period of time where standing there knowing the guy's got a bid that's $400 below mine and him saying, he'll get back to me by the end of the day, to him shaking my hand and closing the deal before I left the house, just shows that it works.
Yeah. What were you saying, Brett? You got something there?
No, I was just, so as people are getting started, like I love the binder, Grant. I need to start putting one together like that. But I did this little just laminated sheet that basically has 5 ways you can learn about us. And it's got like, go visit our website, go visit the FCI reviews site, character references, things like that. And just keep it as simple as 1 through 5, like, hey, you can go do this, why while
Yeah.
I'm going out to pick out your floor.
I like that, Brett, but according to Cody, it won't work with the old people, right? Because they can't open up websites.
No, I know. Well, it does because it's still physical.
Hey, Rocky, I like your take on the, you're an installer, a lifelong installer. What's your take on putting the installer as part of the team in there and stuff like that, like including them like that? We can't hear you, buddy. I think I gotta put your earphones. Maybe Cody's right. I don't know. We'll have to see
Can you
it.
hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I like the fact that you're involving everybody in that binder presentation deal. I love the fact that you put everybody's picture there, and if we can personalize it, like the family picture of the owner and office manager and so on and so forth, it just we're not just a company, we're your neighbor, we're the local people. So I love bringing everybody in. And if you've been in the area long enough, like everybody knows everybody, right? So someone will know either the installer, the office manager, wife, kids, what have you. So I really like the fact that there's pictures involved in that binder.
Yeah. All
Somebody
right.
made the comment, and it struck a chord with me, but they said, well, that's going to be awfully funny trying to go take pictures of our installers to put into our binder. And they were kind of laughing about that. And I said, well, that may be the case, but think about it. Can you imagine the amount of pride that your installers would get when you're asking to take their picture because you want to include them in the material that you represent to other people about how important they are to your success? I mean, imagine the loyalty that you're going to create from those installers. Imagine the sense of pride and ownership that they're going to take in their work if they know that they're being positively represented out to customers as playing a vital role in the success of that customer's business, but also that their work is going to be on display with the before and after pictures. I mean, that's an incredibly powerful thing to gain loyalty and just to gain, incredible trust from your installers, which you are all so dependent on. So anything that you can be doing to create that loyalty and that partnership mindset is a huge value.
So to touch base on that, you can also ask your installers to give you a call right before they get done. So when they're done vacuuming the job out, a carpet installer, LVP job, or whatever it is, just have them give you a call. You run out there, take a picture with them and that finished product, put it on the binder as their picture, showcasing their work and who they are.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Brilliant idea.
Yeah,
Really
brilliant. I love that. Coming from a former installer, Grant.
That's right. 18 years of that.
All right. Let me go back here. Okay. Fine. All right. All right. So we kind of talked about, the price conditioning, building the value, like we're not going to win any price wars out there. Okay. We got to win. We got to convert the price war into a value war, which is what we've been talking about for the last hour or so. Enough said on that, but does anybody have any questions or comments on everything that we've talked about so far? I'll take that as a no. All right. So the last thing that I want to touch on here is practicing and how to practice. We talk about company culture and all kinds of stuff like that. One of the things that Grant and I are trying to foster is a sales culture. Because most of the people that are buying these franchises really don't come from sales backgrounds. So you've got to create a sales culture in your business. And part of that is the practice. Selling is not an art. It's a science. It really is. I mean, it's a process. You've heard the term natural born salespeople. I don't think there is such a thing. There are people that have character traits that lend well to it, but they still got to develop the skill and practice. And I can't, especially like when you're bringing people on. Like Grant and I working with owners that have a DA or are looking for one, and practice, having a sales practice session, it's imperative, because especially with your DAs and just creating that environment is one of the keys to success. And I know you guys run a lot of appointments, but there's certain, one of our cornerstones is practice continuous improvement, and that applies like to the sales process too, because it's a proven winner, and so how do you all I mean, I like to break it up into bits because I'm kind of a simple person. So like I break up the company story into 4 parts. Okay. First part is my slide 1. Dial that sucker in. Say it in the mirror in the morning, in the car, and really get this thing down. And by the sounds of it, a couple of you do, from some of the examples that we heard earlier. And then the second portion is slide 3 through 10. Okay. Transitions, we talk about, personalizing it, really get like your transitions down here, like in this next section, what are you going to say to get from one slide to the next? And then how are you going to present that slide? Then you got the installation video, which is its own little entity itself. And you can really price condition there as well. We'll talk about the process and all that stuff. And then the last part is this, like the last, this slide through 16 is, so just break it up in those 4 little parts and rep them out and then put it all together. It's not as daunting when you're doing it one piece at a time. So does anybody do anything that resembles this, or are you just kind of running appointments out there?
I keep thinking it'd be a great idea and then I don't do it.
What's the great idea?
To spend time practicing. That's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying. To not have the practicing be in my appointments.
Yeah, I mean, set aside time, even if it's only 30 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Maybe this week you're going to dial in your slide 1. You're going to, the next week, the installation video. Just keep working, okay? Because if you put in the work, it's going to pay off. Especially when you start scaling, like you're already going to have that habit, and your DA is going to pick up on that, Everybody good on that? I mean, I don't think I need to really belabor that. So, that's really everything I wanted to cover today. We got 15 minutes left. If you can go have a martini, or we can have a Q&A session here if anyone's got any questions or things they're working on here.
Hey, Joe, it's Evan. I have a question for you. Not
Yeah.
talking about the worms. What are your thoughts and Grant's thoughts on discussing? We talk about manufacturer direct and really build the credibility on that, but we come across, I think, as a little secretive about who the actual manufacturers are, and I think that's actually a strength that we're hiding.
Yeah, with the private label stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can really, I don't have a problem when you tell them we deal with only the best Shaw, Mohawk, all those. You can name names, and just take it a step further, we work with these manufacturers and they make a special line of products just for us, So just kind of take it to that next level. But I would definitely brag about that too, because Shaw's 80% of the flooring industry, or some crazy number like that, right?
Okay, good. I feel better because I do that.
Yeah, I'll definitely. You definitely play it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Yeah, I think-
actually, I've had Evan, I've had customers talk about specific products that we have. I mean, that they don't know that we have them. They're even in the van. But Costco now here, at least here in Virginia, is selling Shaw Cortec LVP, and And I was talking to a customer that said, "Oh, I really like this product." And I'm like, "Well, hey, Shaw's our biggest supplier, and I've got plenty of Shaw to show you, and a lot of the Cortec products." But sometimes it's really hard to weave that. I just am openly transparent about it, and I'll even use the cross references to help them see the colors and whatnot on the website if they want to do some of that on their own.
Dan, that's a great point.
That right there is like the perfect time to hand them your business card and tell them that, you can stand here and try and find the sample where I can bring it to your house and we can do the full consultation in your house for free. That's
Right.
something Ireland told me to do. And every once in a while when I'm at Home Depot or Menards or something, I walk through and I just walk down that flooring aisle, even though I don't want to be there, but I walk down it anyways and typically find somebody that I can butt in conversation and do that to.
So can I touch base on that one there with
Yeah.
Costco? So I had several jobs actually that I beat on a Costco deal that the customer was going to shop at Costco and they were just going to hire me for the installation part of it. And so do your homework on what they're selling. Costco, whether it's Cortec or whatever it is, a lot of their stuff is like a 7 mil with the 7 mil wear layer and stuff. Nice product. I mean, it'll do the job. But I showed that same customer, and as a matter of fact, I loaded up all the Costco material in the back of my van and took it back to the Costco for that customer because I showed him my product, and it was a 20 mil wear layer. And I explained to him, I says, you're paying about 30 cents more for this product. That's 3 times better. And versus and just show them the quality, what you're selling them. And so I says, if I can get that sale, I can, if I can sell this to you and be and feel good about the installation and what you're getting. I says, I'll load up that stuff right now and take it back to Costco. They're like, do it, let's get it done. And so I did.
That's the best
so-
strategy I've ever heard. Remove the competition out of the building. That's about as literal as you can get.
So yeah, do your figure out what Costco is selling, because they're going to throw that in your face all the time. What it is, the composite wear layer, everything, and then get something very comparable and show it off. You're probably going to be about 30 cents, 35 cents more a square foot, but they will buy it.
See, that's one of the things, again, I'm going to refer to our DA meetings. We talk about knowing the competition, and Rocky, you nailed it right there. So if you keep hearing the same competitor come up, mystery shop that competitor. See what you're up against. Oh, excuse me. Grant, take over here for a second.
No, I've had the benefit of having a couple customers. We have another local shop, locally owned, right? Similar, but not a franchise location, called Lifestyle Floors. And I've had the benefit of having a customer share with me their proposal. And unless their pricing is 20% lower than ours, which I find very hard to believe, they're just selling at 30% margins. And for me, I'm like, you know what? Like, if I sold at 30% margins, I wouldn't be in business very long, right? And so it leaves me scratching my head a little bit as a new business owner to they have this large brick and mortar, right? And so it makes me wonder, because I mean, I've physically seen the same products and know what I can get them for. They are selling it at a 30% margin, right? And like, how can they do that?
Well, they're Costco. I mean, they can do it. So
no, but it's not a
have to beat
Costco.
them.
It's not a Costco. It's a guy that lives 4 blocks from me, right? And owns his own company. And so sometimes I'm tempted to try to lower my price, but then I catch myself and I'm like, I can't do that. Like, we have a value to sell. Now, do I have to sell at 50% to get the deal? I probably will never get the deal, but if I get to 42, 45% and I can sell that value, then I'm good. Otherwise, it's not worth it for me to sell at 30%. I don't know if that's short-sighted or not, but
it
curious
is.
your guys' take on that.
It is short-sighted.
It is.
You can't compete on price. Okay, so if you're selling the same merchandise, by knowing your competition, and having that intel, you're going to go hard on the install process. You've got to know what you're up against and how you beat your competitor.
No. And Joe, that's what I'm saying. I'm doing. I'm not cutting it down to 30%.
Okay.
And I'm asking the question: am I being short-sighted by not cutting it down? And I don't think I am.
No,
Yeah.
no,
No.
you're not. Yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. Yeah.
Brett, I wouldn't be surprised to go out on a limb and say this guy's probably just breaking even. There's like a similar situation out here on the west side of Michigan, where Adam and Beth are, Rockford. Kind of one of our competitors, Rockford Flooring, and the guy's trying to sell, but he can't get anybody to buy because he just breaks even. He's not really making any money. He just sells floors. Yes, he stays in business and he does a lot of business, but he's not making any money. He's just breaking even. So
They don't have royalties either.
that's true.
Hey, so who's done a mystery shop on one of their competitors on this call?
Greg. All right.
Greg.
How did yours go, Greg? What'd you do?
I had Empire come. It wasn't that great because the guy, I think he was new. It wasn't as high pressured as I thought it would be, and I got him to leave. But there were some uncomfortable parts, and he recommended a carpet which he didn't have a sample for, so we looked at it on his cell phone, which was bad. You can't obviously feel it. You can't look at it in your own lighting and all that, thus the mobile showroom. And I think he might have been new, but he just kind of stood there at one point and it was really awkward because I kept saying, all right, thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. So yeah, he had like no samples, and what I was looking for, he really kind of didn't have to show me.
Yeah, I strongly recommend doing that if you haven't done it yet. And see what you're up against. You got to learn how to beat them. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
but I've been beaten by Empire several times just on price where clients. I had this Russian woman who was just like, well, they were cheaper than you, so I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have that, which is why your close rate won't be 100%. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I mean, you can increase your odds by knowing what you're up against, is all I'm trying to say here. And do a little scouting on your competition, Bring them out to your house or a friend's house and run them through, and then measure the same space and compare their proposal versus yours, and you'll see. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret here. Customers do lie. Okay, a lot of them lie when they tell you, I can get this for $5,000 less than what you quoted me. They're making that shit up. Okay, so get your own bearing on this, and get the facts. Bring Empire in, have them quote you on a space, and you measure the same space and quote the same product, and then you're going to find you're not that far off in a lot of cases, especially on carpet and stuff like that. And we're very competitive.
Someone says, oh, I'm getting it for X amount. I'm happy to say, great, show me the quote. I'll take a look. Maybe I can match it, but show me the quote.
Yeah. There you
Well,
go.
I think we have to be willing to stand firm on price. Like I had the first person ask me they wanted to see kind of a line item estimate, and it's an install only. He's already done all the demo. He's really like super detail oriented. So it's like, okay, he wants to see what we're charging for this or charging for that, which now we have a new policy in our franchise that we do not give people itemized quotes, because now he's trying to nickel and dime me. He's like, well, how come it's so much for this and how come it's so much for that? And our price is our price. Like I've already given him $300 off for this and for that, and that's it. That's all I can do, and so now I have to send this back to him of just like, hey, love the questions. You'll notice that this price is high and this price is low, and all of it works out that this covers our costs and meets our needs, and this is our price.
Yeah.
Not the cheapest.
So if you send them the line item, I wouldn't rule that out, but they could take stuff out of the project. Maybe they want to do their own tear out. Okay, that's going to save you this much, Right. So there are advantages shown on those line items. I mean, I wouldn't let one bad experience judge you. But it's not a question of lowering an item. It's like you know, you want to move your own furniture, fine, we'll take that cost out, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
and I think too, like, you know, I can have the conversation of, hey, I would, if you need to lower the price, let's look at things we can remove, but I don't need to send somebody a quote. We can have that conversation. And I
Yeah.
can say, okay, well, if you were to remove this thing, that would save you $200. Anyway, Nick, now I know. We've got some new processes in place.
All right, good.
But I saw Rocky nodding really enthusiastically, so that
Yes.
gives me confidence that this is a good approach.
Yeah, so as far as like, I do not detail line items on what it is, because everybody, and my explanation to the customers is, you know, we as a franchise, there's a lot of competition that would like to see what we're doing and why we're so successful. And you know, that's just company policy. We don't itemize everything out. And I leave it at that. Because one, I don't want the competitors to see everything that we're doing. So.
Yeah, that
Hey,
makes
Joe, I'll
sense.
put another piece of wisdom or whatever, discovery, I don't know what you call it, came up this week. I'll put it in the group me too for March. But I'm sure many of you guys have had customers that are like veterans. This came up around Memorial Day. Some of them in wheelchairs. I don't know if everybody's aware, but there is actually a VA program that gives you $2,000 towards wheelchair accessible flooring for the VA. So if you're ever dealing with a veteran customer that is, you know, trying to switch from carpet to LVP, point them to their VA representative. But it's a pretty straightforward process that gets them to $2,000 towards vinyl flooring.
Wow,
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
that's a good one.
Very smart.
I have a marketing question, or just, I'm curious to know, you know, who's taking over for Craig and who's doing our marketing calls and all that stuff going forward. If you guys
Yeah,
know.
right now, Garrett's gonna be, marketing has hired a new support desk person, okay? He's just he's still in the midst of his training. He's been here a few weeks though. And then, they're gonna replace Craig. And we'll have our NFDP person. And, actually, I think Garrett is gonna oversee, they're gonna hire an emerging person and an NFDP person, and Garrett's gonna kind of oversee that part of it. So they are adding some layers in there and support. Unfortunately, it's you know, it's slow going right now, you know, but I know they had some interviews yesterday for the marketing for Craig's spot already. I saw some people parading in and out. So and Stacy's
Nice.
it's hot on the trail of that. But nobody wants to hire someone more than Stacy, trust me.
Oh, I'm sure. She's
Yeah.
motivated.
But so I think Garrett's gonna be your guy until we get a guy, you know?
Or a gal.
Yeah, or a gal.
Yeah.
All right. Our time is up. All right. Good call today. I mean, a very interactive group. It's fun working with y'all.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Joe.
All right.
Thanks, Grant. Good luck, y'all. Talk to you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Thanks, Grant.
Keep cranking.